Hi, everyone, and happy Saturday. Hope everybody is having a great day so far. Good morning, Justin. Hopefully, everybody is ready for their Saturday and kind of getting the weekend kicked off. We do have a chance for some scattered showers and storms today, so let's kind of get right to it. It is a day where we want folks to stay weather aware just due to the risk for some of those scattered showers and storms becoming strong to severe. The time frame here, especially for the Charlotte Metro, especially closer to about 5, 6 o'clock if you're within kind of the city center, but we will see this potential for parts of the mountains and foothills a little bit earlier. Now, the primary risk here, gusty winds in excess of 60 miles per hour. We've talked about this a lot over the past few weeks, but about 90% of our local wind damage in the Carolinas does actually come from winds. People a lot of times focus in so much on tornadoes, but I think it's because they're just kind of shocking to look at oftentimes because of the pictures, the videos. But winds can do a lot of damage just as much, sometimes even worse when it comes to downbursts and microbursts. You saw the derecho videos from what happened a few days ago in Houston. So winds, really wind is wind. It doesn't kind of matter sometimes where it comes from. Flooding risk also, I've elevated this a little bit more. And the reason why, if these storms today were by themselves, don't think it'd be a big flooding risk. But we've seen a lot of rain as of late. In fact, the first half of May has actually been the wettest first half of May that we've had on record in Charlotte. And so we've just seen a lot of rain over the past few weeks. So just be mindful of that as you're heading out and about. Not a significant risk for hail. When you see those low risk, it's typically for what's considered large hail, which is that quarter size or bigger. But there is a lot of penny size hail, could be potential pea size, nickel size, dime, which again is considered small to medium sized. And so, based on the fact that we know that that can even do damage to cars, windshields, things like that, just be mindful as you're heading out the door this afternoon. So that is our main time frame between about 4 and 10 o'clock for most of the area today. Now we have seen some rain so far this morning, but again, it's kind of like what we had yesterday. It is just rain. It has not been storm so far. This is always such a pain that these clickers don't ever want. That has something right on there. What is that? I need to clean that after we do this. So one of the spots that we've actually seen some rain already is over toward Boone and King Street. You can actually see some folks walking around, and there are some slick spots on the roads. That's actually because we've seen some rain so far this morning over in Boone and King Street. As the camera kind of swings, you can actually see some of those slick spots on the roads. Radar showing some of that light to moderate rain. No storm so far today, although we've already started to see some sunshine peek through. And that was really the main factor why we didn't see any storms yesterday, is the fact that it was cloudy for most of the day. That will be a little bit different this afternoon, with the sunshine being out a little bit more. We're also seeing some pockets of heavy rain on the southern tip there of mainly Chesterfield County toward McBee, just to the south and west there of Patrick. So those are really the only spots kind of on the edges of our viewing area that have seen rain so far today, although we had some light showers in parts of Union and Anson County earlier this morning, mostly about 6 a.m. And if you were with us at the 4, 5, and 6 yesterday, we mentioned this a little bit. We have a front that's situated just to our north, and yesterday it was a little bit more northeast, and we have all this warm, moist wind coming in from the south and southwest that's kind of trapped here because of the front. And as it's happened, it's really trapped all this warmth and muggy air. So because of that, we, of course, have been really elevated in terms of our humidity. That allows for more updraft potential, which, of course, can lead to a better chance for localized hail. But also, this will increase our potential for heavy rain because there's more moisture in the atmosphere. That means the heavy rain potential is higher. So that's another reason why we got to keep an eye on that flooding risk. But yesterday, with the lack of sunshine, right, we didn't see a lot of that. But the rain we saw yesterday did cause some pockets of heavy rain and some downpours. So just be mindful of this as we progress throughout the day. The rain that falls can certainly become heavy pretty quickly. So here we are around 2, 3 o'clock. Showers and storms, pockets in the mountains start to develop. Now this particular model I think is moving a little bit quicker, but I think it's pretty good with the time frame here between 2 and 3 to start off in the mountains and foothills, then eventually moving closer to the Charlotte Metro around 5, 6 o'clock. Again, that time frame for pretty much, I would say, from Lincoln County down toward Union and Anson, again between 4 and 10, and then eventually sweeps through by the time I would say about 10 o'clock is over. Then we're completely dry as we approach midnight. Now, an important note overnight and heading into Sunday morning, especially if you have plans to be outside on Sunday, night's game, of course, first pitch is at 1 o'clock. We will likely see some light rain overnight, some patchy drizzle, especially with the moisture sticking around. cloudy sky conditions to kick off Sunday, maybe even some patchy fog. But Sunday will be a little bit different because I think a lot of that rain will be in the morning. And then eventually some of that drier air will mix in. I think a lot of the area will start to dry out by the second half of the day. In fact, a lot of our model data has been pretty consistent on trending drier for the afternoon. And so right now I've kept us at 30% just to kind of indicate that chance of rain a little bit earlier in the day. But I do think it's pretty decent chance right now that we won't see much, I would say after about 1 o'clock. So that's of course good news if you have plans to be outside by Sunday afternoon. So just to recap, 4 to 10 p.m. showers and storms in the Charlotte area, mostly wind potential. We will see heavy rain, lightning, always a chance, of course, with these storms, especially during severe weather season, and then some large hail possibility within those single cells, but mostly small to medium. Near zero tornado threat, which is always a good thing. I also mentioned this during the newscast, and I just wanted to say it too here on the stream, especially if people are able to go back and watch this later. We've had a lot of questions on social media, gotten some email questions. Brad and I were also talking about this in the studio last week when we were doing severe weather coverage. This is not an elevated risk for severe weather. It seemed like we've had a lot, but the main reason why is that this is normal for the Carolinas. It's just that spring last year, so 2023, and then spring 2022, really other than that 3 week stretch in March where we had 3 back-to-back weeks where there was actually a reported tornado within our 22 counties. So not necessarily Mecklenburg County, but a county in our viewing area. It really wasn't that active of a spring severe weather season again, other than that week. And then 2023 was very, very calm. So while this year has not been above average for normal, since the past 2 years have been pretty calm, it has maybe seemed that way. So if you're hearing, your neighbors, your friends, your family saying, wow, this year has been so active, or they're even saying it across other portions of the South and Southeast, that is actually not necessarily the case. There is some truth to the fact that Tornado Alley has shifted a little bit further east and southeast to portions of the Deep South in terms of a more active tornado season, but that is not necessarily the case here in the Carolinas, specifically in terms of tornadoes or our season this year. It's just that the 2 years recently have not been that active. So if you've recently moved here and you're thinking, oh my gosh, this is insane, this is kind of what is a typical year for us. Late March, April, May, early June is kind of our spring severe weather season. And about 90% of our wind damage or damage in the Carolinas is caused by wind. Any heavy rain potential today at the Cheerwine Festival in Salisbury? Yes, that 2 o'clock time frame when we start to see those showers and storms developing across portions of the mountains and foothills near the I-40 corridor, that would be the time frame that kind of system of storms would be starting to shift further south. So if you are heading out to the Cheerwine Festival in Salisbury, I would try to get out there the earlier the better. If you do want to try to get out and dodge any rain or storms, best tool to have is some kind of radar. We do have that in our WCNC Charlotte mobile app, so it's a good way to track it. I also think that knowing, it's the storm potential that of course is risky. It's the rain or the thunder, the lightning, not necessarily the rain. So as long as you're going out to the Cheerwine Festival and you're going out knowing where to find shelter potentially if a thunderstorm were to be nearby, you're good to go. Of course, if you have, your rain jacket to stay safe, of course, from the rain. But it would mainly be just after that lunchtime hour. Most areas should remain dry for this morning time frame. A great question. Yes, it's around that 2 o'clock time frame that we'll start to see those showers and storms pop up. But they'll start north and west and eventually shift south and east. So they'll start in the mountains and foothills first before shifting that way. So they won't, if you're seeing it in Taylorsville, Hickory, Morganton first, it will take some time to get there to Salisbury. As we know, it's kind of a linear line that's, I'm going to do this backwards, of course, but it's a little bit like that. So if you're looking at the map this way, it goes like this. And actually, I'll back it up for a second so we can actually look at that hour by hour again for folks that are heading to the Cheerwine Festival. Just one more time before we end the stream. Come on, go backwards. There we go. Okay. Sorry, these graphics love to be finicky. Okay, so there we are. See, there we are at 2 p.m. So there we are at 2 p.m. So most areas are dry. And so it would be after that 2 o'clock time frame. Someone's asking what's the difference between near zero and non-zero, so absolutely zero. I would say a non-zero tornado threat is if there's absolutely no chance for storms at all. Oftentimes this time of year, when there's even a little bit of wind shear in any kind of rotation, I would absolutely never say that there was no chance for any kind of rotating storms at all. And, truthfully, anytime you see any kind of rotating storms, there is still that chance that some of those storms could pick things up and kind of spin them around, in terms of strong winds. And so even though that wouldn't technically be a tornado, I don't want anyone to, think that that means that they can, leave their patio furniture out like that, things of that nature. Unfortunately, a lot of it when it comes to forecasting, it's a social science thing. So I think that we need to prepare accordingly when it comes to the strong winds in terms of 60 miles per hour. So I wouldn't leave anything outside that you wouldn't want to be blown away when there's a chance of severe weather and 60+ mile per hour wind gust. Something else that you need to watch out for any outdoor activities today, whether it's the Cheer Run Festival, Charlotte FC, of course, Charlotte Knights kicking off there at 6 o'clock for their first pitch, is the chance for lightning. There will be some storms in the general vicinity of Uptown between about 6 to 8 p.m. when both of those matches and games do start to kick off there and have first pitch. So be mindful of the lightning threat. Thankfully, we had a strong lightning signature last night that was really strong around 8 p.m. that is looking to move through a little bit quicker than what we had yesterday. So that is good news. As we look at the Guy Roofing 7-day forecast, as we talked about a little bit earlier, the rain tomorrow thankfully looks to be a little bit earlier in the morning and then generally start to clear out by the afternoon. This should allow for temperatures to be a little bit cooler tomorrow and a little bit more comfortable. If you are heading to North Wilkesboro for the All-Star race by 8 p.m., all the rain should be wrapped up. Don't anticipate any issues, at least for any of the evening activities there tomorrow. If you're going out a little bit earlier, of course, we could have some of that light rain lingering, so the track probably would have to give it a little bit of time for that to dry up. Monday, no issues. Tuesday, no issues. Wednesday, no issues. And then we do bring in that chance for a few scattered showers and storms by Thursday, Friday, and into the weekend. It's a little bit too early to know whether or not we'll see the chance of storms for next weekend. At this point, we do look like we'll see a more typical summer-like pattern, which is the chance for scattered showers and storms, temps in the 80s. I think people will probably take that over last year where it was terrible, where we were in a cold air damming setup where we had temps in the 50s and that nasty rain. But we'll continue to fine tune that forecast, bringing updates off and on throughout the week. But at this point, I don't see any pattern to indicate that we'll have a similar forecast to last year. Yes, I definitely think that we'll see similar setup to the lightning thread that we had with Monday storms. A chance of really severe storms today. I don't know what you mean by really severe. Considerable hail, no. Considerable, winds over 70, 80 miles per hour. I don't anticipate, significant, above average threat. But this is the typical strong to severe storm setup that we do see with 60 to 65 mile per hour winds. As they roll through the Carolinas, we will likely see some of those strong storms cause damage, as they often do. We have a lot of saturated ground because of all the rain that we've seen. And with saturated ground, winds oftentimes even over 40 miles an hour can cause, loose limbs to come down. So we need to prepare for the potential for even isolated power outages, especially in those areas, again, 2 p.m. and later for parts of the mountains and foothills, and then eventually around 6 o'clock, especially for the Charlotte metro area. This is just that time of the year where this does happen. Again, the chance for storms is not widespread. It will be mostly spotty and scattered in nature, so at least it's not the entire region. This is not a setup similar to 2 weeks ago where we had the 2 tornadoes in Gaston County, and this is not a setup similar to, I guess it's about almost a month ago now, where we had those 2 storms that created intense hail in Rock Hill. So it's not similar to those storms. Of course, every storm is different, but it's not a setup that's similar to either of those storms. So I'll leave you with that for today. Stay safe, stay weather aware this afternoon, especially between about 4 to 10 p.m. if you're across the metro. Again, great tool to have if you want to track the rain and storms live. WCNC Charlotte mobile app. Tomorrow, showers lingering, some light rain early in the morning. We should clear out throughout the day, and we will get a break from some of those showers and storms early in the work week. And then hard to believe that Memorial Day weekend is already upon us next weekend. Have a great Saturday, everybody.